Hey everyone and welcome back. In today's video, we'll be discussing about the centralized logging in AWS. Along with that, we'll also look into some of the important pointers that we need to consider before we go ahead and implement the centralized logging approach. Now, similar to what we had discussed in the multi-account strategy video, a comprehensive log management and analysis strategy is a mission critical pointer in any organization. Now, typically, if you talk about AWS, you have a lot of services like CloudTrail, Config, VPC flow logs. You'll also have logs from EC2 instances, etc. So it is very important that you forward the logs to a centralized accounts S3 bucket. And from this bucket, you can go ahead and analyze the log from log monitoring solutions, like it can be Splunk or various others. Now, there are certain considerations that you need to look into while implementing the centralized logging. The first and the very important consideration is the log retention requirement. And this becomes very important typically if your organization is following some kind of a compliance model. So a lot of compliance like PCI DSS or various others, they have a specific log retention requirement. So let's assume that a log retention requirement is of 5 years. So you need to make sure that if you are storing the logs to a centralized S3 bucket, you need to make sure that the log would be retained for 5 years and they are not automatically deleted. So that is very important. Now, along with that, lifecycle policy is also quite crucial, specifically if you are taking into consideration the cost. So many times it happens is that organizations, they are storing the application logs typically for the servers which are mission critical. So application log can go up to terabytes. Now you don't really want to store terabytes of log in S3 bucket. You can move it to Glacier as well, and that will save you a lot of cost. So this is where the lifecycle policies really plays an important role. Now, the second important pointer is that you need to incorporate the tools and features to automate the lifecycle policies. So let's say that for up to 6 months, all the application logs will be stored in S3 for easy retrieval if there are any issues or anomalies which are detected. After 6 months, all the older logs will automatically be migrated to Glacier. So those things should be automated. Now, the third important point is the automation of the installation and configuration of log shipping agent. Now, this is also very important. Now, let's say that you have EC2 instances in an auto scaling environment and a new EC2 instance started at the middle of the night. Now you need to make sure that the new instance which was launched at the middle of the night, that instance's application log or that instance's server log should also be sent to the S3 bucket. Now, if you want to achieve that, then you need to make sure that the log shipping agent is automatically installed. Now, depending upon the use case, you can add it as part of the user data or you can add it as part of the AMI itself. So this is some important aspect, because if you have auto scaling, it might happen that one instance got launched at the middle of the night due to scaling, and once the CPU load decreased, that instance got terminated. Now, if you do not have the automated way of installing the log shipping agent, then the logs which were part of that new instance which got launched would be lost. And the last one is to make sure that whatever solution that you implement, it supports the hybrid environment. Now, again, this is a consideration. Many of the organizations, they do not have a hybrid environment, but nowadays a lot of organizations are moving towards hybrid. Now, hybrid can mean the cloud as well as on-premise, or it can mean the hybrid cloud architectures as well. So you can have AWS and Azure. So whatever solutions that you implement, make sure it supports the hybrid environments as well. Now, since this is a AWS certification, we need to understand on how we can make use of AWS managed services to build the centralized logging solution. Now, there are a lot of services which can help here, like you have Elasticsearch, you have CloudWatch logs, you have Kinesis, you even have S3. Now, here one important point to remember is that the way in which you can configure the centralized logging will differ based on the AWS services that you are using. So the way in which you can configure the centralized logging for CloudTrail would be different to the way in which you can configure the centralized logging for VPC Flowlog. So that is one important part to remember. So before we conclude, let me show you a quick demo on how exactly this type of architecture of centralized logging might look like. So this is my account A. Now this account, let's say that we call it as the centralized logging account, and this account has various buckets. The first one is KPLab Central CloudTrail demo, and second is KPLab Central config demo. Now what you can do here is that if you look into this diagram, so those two buckets are present in this central account. Now whatever accounts you have, you can have account A, account B, account C, etc. You can configure various services in those accounts to send the logs to this specific S3 buckets which are part in this central account. All right. So here let me quickly show you. Here I have KPLab Central CloudTrail demo. Now if I quickly open this up here, you see it is receiving the CloudTrail logs from a different account. So if I quickly open this up here, so these are the CloudTrail logs which are coming from a different account together. So this specific S3 bucket that you see over here, it is part of a different account, and the logs which are present over here, those logs are coming from the services in a different account. So let me quickly show you. So I am logged into the account B, and if I go to the trails over here, so if you just want to verify, and this account has the account number of 5858, and if you look into the S3, you see it is 5858. So this is the logs from a different accounts. Now the way in which you can configure the logs, let's say I want to have a centralized logging for all the CloudTrail logs. So the way in which you configure each and every service for centralized logging will be different. Now here I have a CloudTrail trail which is created. Now within this trail, if you see over here, I have defined a bucket which is KPLab Central CloudTrail demo, and this bucket belongs to a centralized account. And along with that, within this account, I have a bucket policy which is created for this specific bucket, so that the account A CloudTrail service will be able to deliver to this S3 bucket. So there is a bucket policy which is created here, and this is how the bucket policy looks like. Now if you see in this bucket policy, we are actually specifying the service of cloudtrail.amazonaws.com to be able to have a get bucket ACL, and also the put object permission over my S3 bucket. So this is for the CloudTrail. Now similar to this, I also have a centralized bucket for config logs. So if I can quickly show you, this is for the config logs. Again, this is the account ID, and if I can quickly show you this, let's go to the config service, and within the config console, if I click on settings, here also I have specified the bucket name called as KPLab Central config demo. So this is the bucket, and even for this specific bucket, I have the bucket policy which is configured. So if you see over here, now instead of CloudTrail, we are specifying the config service over here. So here also we have the get bucket ACL and the put object which is defined for this specific bucket. So this is the high level overview about the centralized logging. I hope this video has been informative for you, and I look forward to see you in the next video.